Hi, third grade. It's Mrs. D'Amico here. Today we are going to practice identifying cause and effect relationships. If you look, the learning target is understanding cause and effect relationships will help you understand how and why events happen. A heavy storm hits and a large tree falls. The storm is the cause or the reason the tree falls. The fallen tree is the effect or what happens as a result of the storm. The connection between these two events is an example of a cause and effect relationship. Understanding cause and effect can help you see how events and ideas are related. Writers often use the words such as because, if then, since, so, therefore, and as a result to signal and explain a cause and effect relationship. Look at this cartoon. What cause and effect relationship do you see? Here it says Henry got a balloon at the party. Henry blew up the balloon. The balloon popped because Henry blew it up too much. So if you turn the page in your packet, it says, look at the cartoon again. Fill in this cause and effect chart to tell what happened. So we want to know what happened. Well, if you look in the last picture, you could say Henry's balloon what? Popped. Okay, I think that's fair. Henry's balloon popped. But then we want to go back and say, why did it happen? Well, remember the word because is a signal word. So this last sentence, the balloon popped because, that's telling you the cause is coming next. Henry blew it up too much. So you could write that. Here, Henry blew his balloon up too much, or you could say Henry put in too much air in his balloon. And the result, the effect is it popped. Okay. Down here, it says write one or two sentences describing what happened. Use words like because or so or as a result to show the cause and effect relationship. So now you're just putting in a sentence to describe your picture. You could say because Henry blew too much air into the balloon, comma, it popped. Or you might say the balloon popped because Henry blew it with too much air. All right. It says, imagine there's a fourth box in the cartoon. What do you think the cat would do and why? Describe that. You're just talking. You don't need to write this part. Describe that cause and effect. Use a signal word in your description. Well, I kind of want to scroll back up to that cartoon and look at that cat. What do I think the cat would do with those pieces of the balloon? Do you have an idea? Let's see. Maybe the cat would get scared and run. Or, I don't know, I would hope it wouldn't try to mess. Maybe it could play with the pieces of the balloon. Those are two good predictions, maybe. Hopefully it wouldn't try to eat it because that would not be good or safe for the cat. But maybe mine would be the cat ran away because it was startled or scared by the loud popping noise. All right, in a moment, we're going to go on to our story of the day and try to find some more cause and effect relationships there. Okay, now we're going to look at our story for today. It's from Frozen Deserts. And when we're reading, if you look down in the bottom corner, it says close reader habits. Underline sentences that show the effects of extreme cold in Antarctica. So we are going to be listening for reasons, or I'm sorry, not reasons, but the effects of because Antarctica is so cold, what happens as a result. All right, here we go. In spite of our image of deserts, some are freezing cold and covered with ice and snow. Cold deserts exist all over the world. They are found in Asia, Africa, South America, China, and even the United States. The coldest place on Earth, Antarctica, is considered a desert. It gets very little snow or rain. When it snows, the snow never melts. Instead, it forms ice sheets that build up over time. This creates ice shelves and icebergs. It's too cold for plants. Only a few mosses and algae grow there, and people can't live there for long periods of time. All right, so I think before we move on to paragraph 3, there were a lot of effects of the extreme cold that were given in this paragraph. Because it's so cold, what does it say? Right. When it does snow, it never melts. I would underline that sentence in your text there.
Can I have juice for this pencil, please?
Okay, so I would definitely underline when it snows, the snow never melts. That's just because it's extremely cold there. Another thing that happens is that the snow forms ice sheets that build up over time. So it's just sheets and sheets of ice. And then another thing is that ice shelves are created, and so are what other things? Right, icebergs. Because it's extremely cold, it's too cold for plants to grow. And really, the only other thing that you could underline here is that because it's so cold, people can't live there for long periods of time. It's not good for humans. All right, let's keep going with paragraph 3. Another frozen desert, the Gobi, reaches from Mongolia to China. It is still expanding. That means it's getting bigger. The Gobi Desert is called a rain shadow desert. A large mountain range called the Himalayas blocks the wet weather from reaching the area. Heavy winds whip through the Gobi Plains. That may explain why there's no sand there. Instead, the landscape is mostly bare rock with little plant life. Temperatures are extreme. It isn't covered in ice like Antarctica is, but the Gobi can get as cold as 40 degrees Fahrenheit below zero in the winter. In the summer, it can get as hot as 122 degrees Fahrenheit. It is the desert, but I'm freezing. All right, let's take a look at your questions in this part here. Question 1 is 2 parts. Answer part A, then answer part B. In Antarctica, why do ice sheets build up over time? Is it A, because Antarctica gets very little snow or rain? B, because when it does snow, the snow doesn't melt? C, because there are few plants to stop the ice from forming? Or D, because there aren't enough people to break up the ice? Does one stick out to you? Do you remember? Yeah, hopefully you remember that snow doesn't melt there. In fact, when it does snow, it just builds up into sheets of ice. So the correct answer for that one is choice B. Part B, what are two? We need to choose two. What are two other effects of the extreme cold in Antarctica? So think about what we underlined. Ice shelves and icebergs form. Is that something that happens as a result of the cold? I remember underlining that. Yes, I would circle that one. The plants become tougher and stronger. Actually, there aren't any plants there because it's so cold. It snows all the time. No, actually, it hardly ever snows. Yeah. D, strong winds blow away any snow. Was that in Antarctica? No, the winds were blowing in the Gobi Desert. How about E? People can't stay there long. Do you remember reading that about Antarctica? Yes. Or F, there is no snow? No, there's some snowy parts. So I would say that the two other effects are yes, about ice shelves and icebergs, and the fact that people cannot stay there very long. All right, let's look and see what we can talk about here. Reread paragraph 3. That one's talking about the Gobi Desert, and discuss what the Gobi Desert looks like. What's one possible reason that there's no sand in the Gobi Desert? Well, if you remember in paragraph 3, it said in parentheses that heavy winds whip through the plains. That might be why there's no sand. It's too windy, it blows it all away. If you remember, though, it says the landscape is bare rock with very little plant life. Okay, and then in the winter, it could get super, super cold, and in the summer, it could get super, super warm. All right, the last thing you need to do is write a short written response. And for this, there is a RACES graphic organizer that you can use. The question is, why is the Gobi Desert a desert? Explain at least two cause and effect relationships that may have caused this. All right, so it does give you a hint over here that says, what effect do the Himalayas, those are the mountains, what effect do the Himalayas have on the area where the Gobi Desert formed? I think you can find all of your answers for the short response in paragraph 3 there. So make sure you restate, answer the question, and use some evidence to explain. Good work today, and good luck.